Hello, everyone. Got the floating head today. Huh? Pretty excited. Welcome, 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 ladies and gentlemen and ladies, cats and dogs, children of all ages, and everything in between. Welcome. You know who it is. It is the kid, Unc Just, Unc Pizza, the pizza freak, always resonating at that pizza frequency. I love talking about pizza. I love making pizza, but mostly I love sharing pizza with people that I give a ship about. Yes, literally breaking bread with mother stinkers that I care about. And I have a sneaking suspicion that you too, my friends, also resonated said pizza frequency. Gosh, I keep tripping up. Pizza frequency. That you, my friends, you also resonated said pizza frequency, or why else would you be here? And where is here? I'm glad you asked. Here we are. Geez, part 3, Science of Sourdough, Leaven Foods pre-launch. Look at this. What do you guys think of the new do? I'm gonna because it's St. Patty's Day. So happy St. Patty's Day. If you've been with us before, welcome back. This is the first time hanging out with us. We're so excited to hang out with you, talk all things pizza pie, and pitch to you guys about what's going on with the Leaven Foods. If you haven't been with us, this is the third and final pre-launch video before the Pizza Expo. That's right. If you didn't know it, next week, Pizza Expo, where Noel, Cameron, and Jimmy, down Sandeezy Way and Leaven Foods will be presenting to the world their product, these wild yeasts that are going to take your pizza and your breads and all your bakes, donuts, whatever you got, to the next level. To the next level. So what we did a couple weeks ago is we just talked about what we're going to do. We ran through. Noel did a mix using the new wild yeasts, and we talked about it. We talked about what was happening, and we talked about using that instead of instant dry yeast or active dry yeast, depending on, and the benefits, the flavor benefits, the health benefits, all that stuff. And then last Monday, we did the launch of the website, the e-commerce website. Yeah, where you can actually buy the product. And we started talking about the different flavors that they bring out, how you would use the product, and we had a big discussion all about that. And I think tonight we're going to even do a little bit more of a deeper dive. So I wanted to show you my green because I don't want to get pinched, but yeah, I'm really excited. The boys are going to be heading to Pizza Expo. So if you are on your way there, you got to stop by and see them. Remember, the code word is Justin. They give you some swag. I know Cam promised me he was going to get beer koozies. I'm not sure it happened because he was hanging out in San Francisco all week. Look at that. There's Cameron right there. I see him. Cameron, I hope you enjoy San Francisco. I went to FAO Schwartz there once. Actually, I wasn't allowed to go as punishment. My dad wouldn't let me go because I was being mean to my sister the night before. But that is another story. So without any further to-do, look at me. Look at me. Look at that. Going to have some fun with it. Going to have some fun with the green screen tonight, everybody. I'm really excited that you're here. I'm really excited to see what Leaven Foods is going to go on. Noel's been, or what they're going to be bringing to the Pizza Expo. Noel's been down in Sandeezy with the boys in the lab, pen in the pad, working on the product all week. So I'm excited to hear how it went. I heard they broke their Pizza Master. Can you believe it? You got to get the Pizza Master guys out there to fix it. So without any further to-do, I'm going to bring him on. Here he is, the man, the myth, the legend, Noel, Mr. Slow Rise himself. Noel Slow Rise Pizza Brohner. Blue bell, baby.
Justin!
That was a good one.
You're looking good this week.
Yeah, what do you think? What do you think? I've been working out.
I mean, you've never looked better.
I know, right? Huh? Been working out.
I think it's going to be a good week.
It's
Starting
yeah.
out so good. I hope we don't. I hope we don't poop out.
Yeah, we're not pooping out, dude. We're not. We're gonna poop out, but not in a bad way. It's
Oh,
gonna
not in the
feel
back.
like it's gonna feel like there's been weight on us that we're releasing. So we're gonna poop out, but it's gonna be like, oh gosh, I feel a lot lighter.
Sorry, I brought it up.
I'm glad you did.
You can
Huh?
take a metaphor and run with it, my friend.
Yeah, dude. Don't don't give me any metaphors.
I'm not. You're dangerous
Because
with a metaphor.
because I've been, like I said,
I see why your dad punished you. I wouldn't take you to FAO Schwartz with a mouth like that either.
oh my Lord, it was really bad. I
Did you make your
was
sister cry, or were
Yeah,
you
I
just
made my
teasing
sister
her?
cry. So this is back in the day. They had to call my parents at the restaurant, right? And be like, that's back in the day. This is pre-cell phone. This is like early 80s. And I was paying bad. My sister told me about earthquakes. I'd never been to California. And I was kind of freaking out. I was like, but that doesn't really, back in the day when you had
She
double
started
beds,
it. She started it.
back in the day when you had double beds and you jump back and forth and then you get room service. And anyway, my dad was really upset because they were going to go out to dinner, and then this is the way my dad tells it, they were going to go see a like burlesque show with the most busty woman in the world at the time, like Candy something something, we'll have to look it up. But evidently I ruined those plans, and so my dad, to punish me because they had to come back, he said, "I'm taking your sister into FAO Schwartz and you have to stay in the car."
Mister.
Yeah, that was tough. That was tough. I don't think I've ever gotten over it. That's why I had toys as an adult. Anyway, enough about me. Where have you been all week?
Me? I'm at my house in Santa Monica. Can't you tell?
That is a lie.
It's a green screen.
Look, look,
It's a green screen.
look. That's for the
Oh.
Noid. The,
All right.
the
All
Noid.
right.
You got to avoid the Noid.
Yeah. So I'm in San Diego for the week. We're getting ready for a big tasting tomorrow.
Can you show us around? Do you have your cot there?
I can't really. I mean, I basically do. I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not far, I'm
Your
not
little
far.
bedroll.
Yeah. So I got my Pizza Master oven.
Broken? You broke the Pizza Master, I heard.
I broke the Pizza. Well, they broke the Pizza Master. I fixed the Pizza Master.
Oh, you did? Oh, okay.
I
Put
got
that on the
Cameron.
old res.
Yeah. Oh
Pizza
yeah.
Master,
Yeah.
Fix It Man. Okay,
Yeah.
good. Good to know.
So anyway, yeah, big week. We'll tell you all about it when we bring Cameron on.
Hmm.
Pretty exciting. So this has been like 2 years in the making. So
Yeah. You guys
we
been
got
working on this idea. Cam
we're
came to you, or Cam's friend said, got this wild idea about wild yeast. Do you know anybody in the biz? Somebody had maybe heard, or we had taken maybe one of our classes, said maybe reach out to this guy, Sandeezy, Venice Way, not too far. You guys had some drinks. The magic began to happen. You saw the writing on the wall. You saw it. Because like you said last week, and I think that it's a very keen observation. Like, the pizza game is slow to evolve. Like, oh yeah, this is a new oven. It does instead of 550, it goes to 570. Or look at this mixer. Not only does it go to 200 RPMs, now it does 240 RPMs. And we have three new colors. You're like, well, it's kind of the same thing. So you guys started thinking outside the box. What can we bring to market that will change the game, right? That will make it accessible, take away the mythos and maybe a little bit of the intimidation factor of working and nurturing and feeding and discarding the sourdough, but imparting the flavor, and also the benefit is that then you get the health benefits, right?
I mean, yes to all of it, of
Great.
course.
All right. I don't.
Nice recap. Let's go home.
Yeah, are we done? Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking. But no, we can't be done because tonight is St. Patrick's Day, and I've got a few surprises in
Uh-oh.
store
Uh-oh.
if people, stick around to hang out. So, anyway, what are we doing? What's the game plan?
I'm
What's
not
what's the
going
word?
anywhere. I'm sticking around and hanging out with you, Justin.
Okay. Did you make any bakes? Did you share any of these mixes? I haven't been on socials. I'm off the stuff. I'm not in the cortisol spiral anymore. But that means I'm also missing out. Recap your week. Super quick.
So I've been here, tomorrow will be 7 days, and I came down here because we had to make sure that we put the finishing touches on the product. And what that means is that we'll be going to Pizza Expo next week, and we will be making bread and pizza for thousands and thousands and thousands of people.
Holy Moses.
In order to do that, we got to have our shit together, wouldn't you say?
You do. I wouldn't say it like that because I don't use curse words.
Okay, I'm glad. One of us doesn't.
Yeah.
Well, so anyway, this is I've been going to Pizza Expo many times. A lot of my friends are there. A lot of my frenemies are there. It's gonna be good fun. So due to the kindness of strangers, we're going to be popping up at a few different booths, which we'll get into a little bit later.
Yeah. We talked about that last week. We had some super heavy hitters, and I'm excited to talk about those guys again.
But this time it's for real, Justin, because it's one thing to do a virtual pop-up and be like, oh, look at this bread. It's so tasty. Yum, 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 right? It's another thing to bust out 50 loaves of bread and say, try my sourdough, 5,000 people, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So we're going to be handing out tastes. We're going to be demoing pizza. So I got to come up with a pizza. So I chose one of the sets of microbes that Cameron and James designed.
Great.
I've been working on my little pizza game, sourdough pizza game. So we're going to be doing bread. We're going to be doing pizza, and then we're going to be doing 2 days of mixing at the Uni booth. They are not Uni Ovens is not bringing any ovens this year.
I heard last week you were talking about the Halo that they sent to you, so you were able to do some test running on that. Now, did you take it down to Sandesi, and have you been using the Halo down there?
No, sir. Why would I do that?
I didn't know.
Oh, we have a FAMOG here.
Oh, watch your mouth. Once again, we don't use that type of language.
We got a little spiral mixer right there.
Dirty.
Little baby guy.
Oh,
we're going to be mixing on a 200-kilo spiral mixer this week.
Holy momo!
200 kilos. That's like about a 6-bag mixer.
You can put people in there, right?
Me, you, and Cameron could hang out in that mixer and not even touch.
A little dangerous, but I'm look.
Only if you turn it on.
Yeah. Oh, true. It's like the teapots, the tea cups at Disneyland.
All right, Justin, I feel like you're tangent man today. We gotta bring Cameron on. We got stuff to do.
Let's do it. Okay, here he comes. Ladies and gentlemen, Cameron. Cam, hello.
How's it
How
going?
are you doing? What's going on?
Good.
I got a nice little background effect for you. Do you see this? This remind you of anything?
Got sunburned right over there.
You were running. That's what you were doing. You were running across there. You were jogging, right?
Yeah.
How many steps did you get?
I don't know.
Jeez.
I don't like the watches. I don't like to know.
How come you
don't like to know? You like to be surprised, or you just don't like to know?
I just do what I feel.
Oh,
go until I
dang.
feel tired.
Man, so like a lot. You run a lot.
He's young. He can do that.
Yeah. What kind of shoes do you use?
Sambas.
Oh, there you go. I got some Z's, which are also, some people call them New Balance. But it's all about perspective, because I look down and the in looks like a Z. So everything's about perspective. Cam.
Everything's about your perspective, Justin. That's what I'm telling you.
How was having Noel up in your ish this week? I know you were gone for a little bit, but did you guys get to the bottom of some stuff?
Oh yeah. Noel digs deep.
I'm going to tell you one thing, Justin. I got here and I didn't like what I saw. And so I pulled an Elon Musk.
Oh.
On day 2, I tore it all down. I'm like,
No.
no. First off, why does the pizza look so terrible? I taught you guys to make pizza 2 years ago, and this is how you repay me? Turns out the pizza master wasn't working properly. The top elements weren't working, and the top elements aren't working, and you got like 2 sets of elements. You don't have a working oven.
Wow. So you guys selling that oven on a real discount, super discount to me?
For you, Justin.
Because it's not working. I'll take it off your
It
hand.
only weighs like 1,600 pounds. I'm sure the 3 of us can get it up your stairs.
Dude, I know that the turbo diesel, biodiesel, Mercedes could hack it. That right back up Venice way. Look, let's not go on the tangents.
Thank you.
All right. So did you, after you burned it down, what did we figure out?
Well, Cameron wasn't here, so when when the cat's away, the mice did play.
Okay, so you and Jimmy...
We played with microbes all week. And so basically, when you go to the Pizza Expo, it's a little different than what you're used to because you got to scale way up. Not only that, we're going to be like in so many different locations at so many different times. Like we're going to start out at like 5 a.m. in San Diego, then we're picking me up in Santa Monica, and then we're heading out to John Arena's Bakery, and we got to get 2 mixes in before they close on Sunday so that we beat the Italians to the walk-in on Monday. By the time they show up, we'll be done mixing and shaping 2 giant 200-kilo batches of dough. And what we had to do this week was see how do the microbes work, right, at different hydrations.
Oh, okay.
Right? And also, like, what happens to those microbes after 1, 2, 3
days,
4, 5 days? Because here's the thing, you got to do it in little baby batches in San Diego, right? So I got here on Tuesday, and we pretend, all right, let's start on Wednesday and pretend that's Sunday, right? And you keep moving forward day by day. And by the time you get to Friday, you're like, woo! Oh, wait, the oven's broken. Start again. All right, Thursday is going to be Sunday, and then try it again. So we had a lot of false starts, but we're ending on a good note.
Great.
We're not entirely done yet. There's a few things to check out in the morning. And tomorrow will be my last day. We're doing a big tasting for one of our pizza brethren. So we'll get into that later. So I think we're clear for takeoff. That's what I'm hoping we're clear for takeoff.
Well, really, with the Pizza Expo looming, that's all you can ask for, right?
Yeah, I mean,
it's gonna be trial by pizza master, trial by fire, trial by wood-fired oven, if you know what I mean.
I'm gonna mute you. I have no idea what you mean.
I think you do.
Mute yourself.
I think you do.
Self-mute.
I don't think so.
I gotta talk to Cameron.
Look, I'm gonna let you guys chit chat.
It's 5:17.
I'm glad to know.
We're 7 minutes over budget. Jesus Christ! Happy St. Patrick's Day to you. I got a green water bottle. What do you got? You got a red face.
I got nothing. Just a sunburn.
And a cool new T-shirt. I got the old one. You got the new one.
The new merch. Code word Justin at the Pizza Expo.
What does that even mean? Code word Justin. What do they get if they use Justin's name?
They get a tote bag.
No way! Just like that?
Yeah.
You have to have like 10 tote bags at all times.
A special gift for our Science of Sourdough friends who have stuck with us through thick and thin.
You hear that? You hear that, people? And by the time people watch this, who knows if there'll be any tote bags left, right?
We have tote bags.
We do have tote bags. I mean, they're going to have to buy them at some point, right? We're not going
to. Yeah.
We're getting.
They're on the website too.
Later. They're on the website. Good.
Yeah.
So I got the OG shirt. You got the new school shirt, right?
Yep.
All right, good. Now that we've gotten that out of the way, what are we talking about today? What do we want to clue? And all these lovely people came to see Justin bouncing around like a bobblehead. What's up with that? It's not why people are here. They want to hear about microbes and sourdough, right?
Yeah. I think we're going to do a little recap.
Let's do a little recap. For people who, I see a lot of people who were here the last 2 weeks, so that's good.
Yeah. So the recap can be quick.
Let's do it.
And then we can get into some other stuff.
Let's do it.
Let me bring it up. We have full screen?
Yeah, I think we do. Good. Perfect.
Beautiful. All right. So, what is leaven? Why are we here? What are we talking about? Right now, bakers have 2 choices, right? You have baker's yeast, which, started in about the 1800s. It's one strain of yeast that's used all over the world. It's the same yeast if you buy it in France or you buy it in California. It doesn't matter. And then you have sourdough, which has been around for as long as human civilization, pretty much as far back as we can figure things. And there's hundreds of organisms in there across the different sourdoughs, all different types of things. Just like beer, you can get all kinds of different flavors, and it's a beautiful natural thing that nature gifted us, right? Mm-hmm. And sourdough has all these other benefits. Health friendly. It has this awesome flavor. It allows you to, reduce or remove the additives that you are adding to the bread to give it a long shelf life. I know people at home probably aren't doing that, or smaller bakeries, but it allows you to keep your bread around longer, which is nice. But it's kind of hard to manage, right, Noel? Kind of difficult to keep alive. You got to keep a zoo of microbes alive. And baker's yeast is easy. You can make the same thing. if you go to the Pizza Expo, you don't have to pass your starter on the airplane and try and keep it alive, right? You can just drop in your baker's yeast when you get there, and it's going to work the same as it did wherever you came from. And so we thought, the technology exists. Why don't we get both of these things in one? So fast forward 3 years later, why choose? We make instant sourdough. So it's the bacteria and the yeast from the sourdough, but with the properties of the baker's yeast. So the best of both worlds. And so you get all of the benefits of the sourdough that I just talked about, but the ease of use that you get with the baker's yeast, right? So you don't have to keep passing this thing over and over again. And if it dies, you don't have to go back to your friend's house that you got the starter from or whatever. You can just, use it. Just like you use baker's yeast, you can make a pouliche, you can make a pre-ferment, you can use it directly in the dough, water, and salt, and make real sourdough bread. And it comes in this beautiful package. It's dry, it's shelf stable, just like baker's yeast. And we have 3 flavors now. So we got 2 that are available now, and the third one is on the way. And we started with the all-purpose. So the all-purpose is a super mild sourdough. Think like tartine bread, right? It's sourdough, but it doesn't have that super bite. It's mild, so it's all-purpose. It could be used anywhere, right? That's the name of that's where the name came from. Just like all-purpose flour, lots of places you can use it.
Justin, cue Justin.
Yo. So it's the dark ones or the white ones? Which one is it? Sour?
It's the white ones.
Okay, here we go. So this is the flavor. This is the reading of the flavor wheel for everyone's sour, fruity, buttery, toasty.
Beautiful.
Well done.
Do you guys like my St. Patty's Day pizza background?
I love it.
Justin, I don't even see what you're talking about because your voice is still lingering, echoing even in my ears. So...
I think my voice is buttery and toasty too.
Yeah, it's not the all-purpose microbes. It's your voice.
No.
It's buttery.
Oh,
cheesy even.
Here's the wild yeast.
Interesting.
Fruity, buttery, toasty.
No sour. No sour. I noticed that's the big difference. Cameron?
0 sour. So we took a sourdough basically and removed the bacteria that make the sourdough sour. And so you get a yeast which is different from a baker's yeast. It's like popcorn buttery flavor instead of more of an alcoholic, ethanol-y flavor that you get with the current baker's yeast. So and less yeasty flavored. So it's pretty different from a baker's yeast. And it's something that, it's hard to do with the sourdough starter, make it so that only the yeast is there, right? You have to play with the hydration and all this stuff. None of that. It's just the yeast from a sourdough starter. It's made easy. But no sourness. That's key. So if you're looking for sour, over here.
Wow.
And then coming soon, this isn't available yet, but it's next on the list.
I'm going to say right now, I'm glad it's not available yet because it took me a week just to get through the all-purpose and the wild yeast. I was stress testing it. I was putting it through some serious trials.
Sour,
you got to mix it hot. You got to mix it cold. You got to mix it wet.
That's the reading. Sour, buttery.
San Francisco it's extra sour.
So is that what you were doing in San Francisco? You were doing some more research?
No. Oh. I was trying to get us some money to keep
let's get to
the
that
lights on.
Okay, that's good. That's
diving
good.
For dimes.
Yeah, what money? What are you talking about?
We don't need no money. We got microbes.
Bread everywhere. Look at this pot of gold pizza.
We got 600 packs of microbes to sell. All right, we only sold 100 so far. We got 500 more, right, Cameron?
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
We got to sell. We got microbes to move.
We got
the Pizza Expo.
We got to get to the next generation. We're 2.0. We're on the precipice.
Yeah. Sounds good.
All right. So let's chat a little bit, shall we, Cameron?
Let's do it.
All right. So, one of the things that is really exciting about this project is, you put out. We have this idea, and then you make it happen, and then I'm like, all right. I gotta figure out what are the smart people are gonna do, what are the dumb people gonna do, what are the home bakers gonna do, what are the pros gonna do, what are the bread makers gonna do, what are the pizza makers gonna do, what are the sourdough people, the IDY, the ADY, the fresh yeast, the Biga, the pat fermenté, the Polish. I mean, I gotta think about everything. Talk about kicking some tires. That's what I did this week when you weren't there. So what's really cool about the all-purpose is that I was able to ferment it for, I think our top so far is probably 4 days, and it doesn't get too sour after 4 days, which is really cool. And one of the things that I like about the all-purpose in not getting too sour is that in the pizzeria compared to a bakery, you don't know when you're going to use that dough. You mix dough on a Monday, you might be sold out on a Tuesday, right? Or that dough may be sitting around, maybe it's raining, right? And you don't use it till Friday. So what I like about the all-purpose is that it doesn't really get very sour, especially if you manage it properly. And so we're going to teach people to do that in the coming weeks. I've also been doing some pretty good work, I must say, with the wild yeast, no sour at all. So I pushed that for 5 days, and it was absolutely beautiful. Just like when you use a good fresh yeast product or an instant dry or an active dry, just like using a pre-ferment like a Polish or a Biga, right? When you learn to manage it, you get really beautiful, beautiful flavor out of it. And also, I think you brought up Chad Robertson, and he's an important kind of reference for a lot of modern bakers because he was one of the first people that said, sourdough doesn't have to be super sour, right? And so I was trying to see, all right, how sour do we want it to be, right? I got one of these crazy pH meters, so we're pHing the hell out of these doughs, right? To see where is it at? It's at 6, it's at 5.5, it's at 5, it's at 4, it's at 4.2. Where are we at, right? Is it, and what makes it, what brings the pH down to that perfect level, right? So one of the things that's really cool is that every batch of microbes is the same. And so you get really good, makes you feel like you're better than you are, because once you get your times and your temps down, it's actually pretty easy compared to sourdough. There's always this little magic happening with sourdough that people love about it, but there's also a certain amount of uncertainty, which people do not love about it. So thank you for creating 2 products that are dependable. A little bit pricey at the moment, but we're working on that, right?
That's the next thing.
That is the next thing.
That's the next thing. We're working on it.
Good. So let's see here. Let's talk about dates now. Can we talk about dates?
Yeah.
So the big dates on my calendar are coming up. So we're going to be at the Pizza Expo on March 25th, 26th, and 27th. That's going to be next Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, right?
Yeah.
That's the first big dates on our calendar. What's next on our dance card?
Well, hold on. Where are we going to be at the Pizza Expo?
Las Vegas, of course.
Yeah, but where exactly are we going to be?
Good question. Well, where are we going to be tomorrow? That's what I want to know. Oops. Bianco Dinapoli. That's a clue for all y'all. We're going to be doing a tasting for the man with his name on the can. No, not Chris Bianco. He's already tasted our magic microbes. Rob Dinapoli, his partner who is not. So we're going to be doing a sourdough tasting using the all-purpose, and we're going to be doing a wild yeast tasting. And he has at least 3 different kinds of tomatoes that he wants us to pair with these different breads and pizza products we're going to be making. So we're going to be at the Bianco Dinapoli booth all 3 days of the Pizza Expo. And Chris is going to be there, and Bianco Dinapoli is going to be there for the first time ever in their own booth. So we're very lucky that we're going to be popping up at Chris's booth, and we're going to be supplying the sourdough and the yeasted bread to be dipped and dunked and spooned with their lovely tomato sauce. Very exciting, wouldn't you say?
Extremely grateful to them for letting us be a part of it.
Yep.
In some small way.
Super fun. And then also cut to noon on Tuesday, and Sienna and I are going to run over to the Pizza Master booth, where hopefully they will have a working Pizza Master oven. I know they will. They're going to have 10 brand spanking new Pizza Master ovens. So we're gonna cook pizza on one of them. So we got a very beautiful 70% hydration. It's gonna be a 3-day fermented dough by Tuesday if we mix it on Sunday. 2-day, Monday and Tuesday. So we're gonna go 2, 3, and 4 days with that sourdough. Super exciting for the Pizza Expo. Let's see here. So that's gonna be super fun. We're gonna be making pizza with Pizza Lee 33. Lee Hunsinger, he is the corporate chef, longtime pizza maker from New York and Texas. Really fun to mix with Lee. Sorry, to bake with Lee. And then on Wednesday and Thursday, we're going to be popping up at Uni Ovens, right? Uni, which is known for their ovens, is not going to bring one single oven this year. They're going to be bringing their new spiral mixer called the Halo. So I'm going to be mixing, doing 2 mixes. I'm not even 100% sure what I'm going to be doing. I know they want me to do a high hydration mix, so I think I'm going to teach double hydration, which is an awesome technique that I love and works very well. And then I think I'm going to do something with sourdough and whole grains the next day. Maybe I might go as high as 50%. And I might go crazy and push the hydration past above 100%. You can do that with that mixer. Pretty crazy. 105, 110, who knows?
Crazy.
Crazy, right? Yeah, super fun. And you're going to be there with me, right?
I am. Although I'm going to be stationed exclusively at the Bianco Dinapoli booth. So find me there. You know the code word for the tote bag. I'd love to meet you all in person.
Yeah. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. We're going to be rolling out some special deals, are we not?
We are. We rolled one out today.
Really?
Yep. So if you buy a bag, if you pre-order a bag before April 3rd, before the bag ships, the next bag is 50% off.
No way.
Yeah.
No way. Where'd you? I thought that was just an idea in your big brain. Where'd you launch that? Instagram?
Yeah.
Nice.
Today.
Leaven Foods?
Yeah.
Justin, will you put that in the chat so people can go have a look? And we'll put it in the show notes for people watching later on. Might be too late, but you never know. People might be watching. If we can get this thing up by the end of the week, might be time,
there it is.
Right?
Leaven Foods. Everybody take note of my new Dinapoli wallpaper, please.
Love it.
Leaven Foods in the chat.
Good. So that's the website. And then is there a mention of it on the website, or do they have to go to your Instagram page?
I have to go to the Instagram page.
Good.
And the codes will be shipped. If you already ordered, don't worry about it. You're going to get your code too for your 50% off.
Nice.
But the codes will go out on April 3rd. So if you pre-order, don't worry, your code, you'll get an email with your code, special email. Keep an eye out for it.
Love it. All right, so let's see here. Where are we at? What do we want to talk about? We've got, we're at 5:33. We got 27 minutes, maybe 28, because we got places to be. We're not going long on this song, are we? Do I sound like Justin now?
Yeah. You're
rhyming nonsensically?
Absolutely.
What are you looking at, Justin? There was like a little brain fart there.
Yeah, it's just a minor brain fart. You know what I was wondering? You mentioned something that I thought was interesting. Are you guys testing these? Like, can I go down to my local Goodwill and use this to make sourdough buy a bread machine?
Absolutely not.
No. Oh, okay.
No. So here's the thing. This is a new technology, a brand new technology, and so. Okay. I wouldn't start using this technology in the 1980s when those bread machines started getting big. That's way too late. You got to go back to the beginning, right?
Okay.
Before air conditioning, before walk-in refrigerators. We're gonna go back to Naples. That's where I'm starting. I'm starting with Neapolitan pizza with mine.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So I've been to Naples. I've been lucky enough to tour some of the best pizzerias. I have friends who've worked with a lot of the best pizza makers there, and they learned and took the recipes and processes back. So I was talking today with my friend John from Spacca Napoli in Chicago, one of the best pizzerias in the country. And he has a dough that I helped him with, I think it was maybe 8 years ago, 2017. So he was having issues because basically he had too much yeast in his dough. And he was running into problems, especially in the summer, because it would get hot in Chicago. So I helped him with his dough program, and we figured out a way to actually reduce the yeast in the dough, bring it down even below Naples levels, because he wanted to do like a 30-hour rise, right, at room temperature.
Quotes, yeah, air quotes.
Which could be minus 20 in the winter and 110 in the summer, right?
Yeah, there's a large gulf variation in Chicago, correct?
Yeah. So basically, what we tried to do was recreate a cave, or maybe a stone basement that would be, underneath a pizzeria in Naples. So we arrived at the magic number of 64 degrees, and that we basically took a part of his basement where he was storing wine, and we stored dough there.
Great.
So we took it out of the walk-in, right, where it didn't belong, and placed it in an environment akin to maybe the basement of a pizzeria in Naples, and we reduced the amount of yeast to next to nothing. And so that's where I'm going to start with the beginning of Western civilization. That's not true. The beginning of pizza, Neapolitan, right? And so a lot of my friends who are inspired by great pizza of Naples, but really don't necessarily make Neapolitan pizza. Joey from Folks in Costa Mesa, right? He does a beautiful sourdough, so he's been a friend of mine for a long time. So we're going to examine his recipe. He uses maybe 7% levain in the summertime, and in the wintertime, actually. What is it? It's March right now. It's been cold here. And he probably goes down to 4 or 5%, even as low as 2% levain in the summer when it's really warm, So we're gonna get through that. We're gonna look at Dan Richer's recipe. He's at about he gets up to about 15% levain. We're gonna look at that. And everything in between. A lot of people have taken Scotty's classes from Scotty's in
Pizza.
Portland, right?
Yep.
That's a good one. So he's up at around, it varies anywhere from maybe 7.5%. In the wintertime, he brings it up a little bit. Mm-hmm. And then you've got like New York pizza, which I like to start around 0.1 IEDY, right? 0.1 in Baker's math. So we're going to get into some Baker's math a little later, guys.
Okay.
And so the idea is to start with recipes that you utilize as little as possible, the amount of yeast, the amount of sourdough.
Because
and
it
work
seems
your
like,
way up.
yeah, I mean, it seems like a lot of the recipes that you find online are using way too much yeast, right? I mean, it's like a friggin', a lot of the recipes are like put a whole packet of yeast into your pizza and then you punch it down, right?
So, I mean, we don't really punch our dough anymore, right? That's kind of old school.
Yeah.
A lot of my clients, when I arrive at their pizzerias and I start removing half the yeast, 3/4 of the yeast, 9/10 of the yeast, they're like, it's not going to rise. I'm like, it's going to rise. And it always rises,
Right.
I remember when we did the class with Danny, he did a 2-day rise with a pouliche and no added yeast. And everybody said to me, Noel, you forgot the yeast in the recipe. It's not going to rise. Where's the yeast? I said, there's no yeast. They're like, no, there's got to be yeast. I'm like, no, let time work its magic, right? And Danny has one of the most coveted pizzerias in the whole country, right? Angelo's South Philly. Ever heard of it, anybody?
I've heard of favorites.
Right?
Great cheesesteaks, too. Right next to Sarcone's. Good bread.
Yeah, too much yeast. I mean, no offense to Sarcone's, but I'll bet you those busy men and women that worked there for 100 years making this, some of the city's earliest bread, they weren't messing with sourdough. They weren't messing with pouliche. They were putting a ton of baker's yeast in the early morning. I bet you they started making their dough at midnight. And by 6 a.m., that dough was ready to rock and roll, wouldn't you say?
I don't know. That's where Danny learned his stuff. So.
No, not really. He married into the family, but that's another story. Story.
You know all about that. You got
I did. I spent some good time. Good QT, as Justin would say. Good quality.
Quality time. That's QT. A little quality time.
So let's see. So we've been poring over some numbers. We've been stress testing the different microbes. Cameron, so you and I have been working on a brochure for the Pizza Expo, and so I said to you this morning when I finally saw you, I'm like, we got to break these numbers down for the peeps. They're asking me a lot of questions. I'm getting hit up on my Instagram. Everybody wants to know this. I'm like, you guys are getting ahead of yourself. All right, just get some yeast and then chill out. All right. Yeah, we've got a tool on the help section of the website to help you convert from whatever, but don't be doing any conversions yet. You got to slow down. We got to all take it nice and slow. We got to wait till the 3rd. I got my yeast, right? But nobody else has theirs. So we got to wait till April 3rd. And then what are we going to do? April 3rd is our big launch. That's when the microbes get shipped, right? You and James are going to be busy in between the Pizza Expo and April 3rd.
Yep.
And so what day of the week is that, April 3rd?
I think it's a Wednesday.
It's a Wednesday. And so the following Monday, we're going to be doing our first, that's April 7th. We're going to be doing our first live Zoom Science of Sourdough, where people are going to actually have the microbes in their hands, and we're going to be working on recipes with people. And not just like answering general questions, theoretical questions, hypothetical questions. People are going to have the microbes, right?
Yes, it's going to be amazing. I can't wait to see what people do with it.
None of us can wait. And also, like, we've had other generations of microbes, but these ones are for real, right?
It only goes up from here.
Only goes. I like your attitude.
We only improve.
We definitely only improve, and we've only been improving since the beginning. But we still have a ways to go, right?
Yeah. Should we break it down for the people? Oh, we got some good questions too.
Already? All right.
Justin was saying we got some questions in the text group.
Good.
Oh, somebody's asking. They want to see some mixes. They want to see some bread. I think you got some handy.
They want to actually see some bread that I have?
Yeah.
Well, this is the same loaf I showed before. I've got a bunch of bread back here, but this is a beautiful piece of dough. I really like it. So this is it smells so good. I can smell definitely fruity, definitely buttery, and definitely toasty. This is the wild yeast. So this is about a 4-day ferment. Really nice.
What hydration is that, Noel?
This is 85% hydration.
Do you have one that you've opened up?
I can't reach it. I'm tethered.
Okay.
I'm tethered. But it's got a nice open crumb for sure. All the 85% always do. So what I was doing with that is I wanted to see how it performed compared to fresh yeast, active dry, instant dry. So we hit all the marks. We're good to go. And then I was doing a 70% hydration. I was doing a 65. I didn't really go much lower than that. So that's like the general range between about 65 and 85 this week. And then we're good. We're good.
Nice. At the end, I do want to see that open crumb, though. Okay, you can untether for a Momo. But this is a good one for Cameron before we start getting into pricing. Is there an extensive loss of microbial activity during hydration? Microbial activity during hydration. Sorry.
That's a good question. So, I'll answer in a kind of a long-winded way on how we make the product, right? So we started with the microbes. We have them individually, right? So they're not together. It's not like we're taking a big sourdough starter and then dehydrating it, because you wouldn't get it concentrated enough to work like baker's yeast. Mm-hmm. So we grow it like baker's yeast, but we grow it in a different way. So we take each of the different microbes and we grow them in a special way that makes them have a similar activity, a similar functionality, keeps them well practiced in the way that they normally operate. In individual large fermenters like you would see in a brewery, so huge ones, thousands of liters. And instead of making beer, we want the microbes. So normally, like a beer maker will take the yeast at the bottom and do something else with it, maybe pitch it or just get rid of it. And they just take the liquid, which is the beer. We just want the microbes, not the slurry. And then we take those and we dry those out. And then we reblend them. And that's why we're able to control the flavor so well, is because we can take each microbe and determine exactly how much we add. Mm-hmm. And we do that all based on how the original sourdough was. So getting back to the original question, yes, we do lose some, but we maintain about 95% of the activity. And that's because we do it in these separated things. It's not like we just dry out the sourdough and what's left is left, right?
Wow. Great question.
Yeah, good question.
Yeah.
Long answer, but good question.
And then Susan is asking, are we looking for investors?
Oh yeah.
Maybe
big time.
maybe we can get in touch with Susan after. She knows some tech angel groups that might be interested in this.
Some sourdough startups.
Yeah. There we go. Thank you, Susan, for that. So, all right, why don't we jump to the next slide? Because I know people are curious about price point, and Noel, I know you're talking about percentage of yeast and what that costs. So let's move on to this, because I think that this is something we need to discuss.
Yeah.
All right, so that's a good start. I like the blank slate here. We got your standard and we got your premium. Walk us through it.
All right. So, when you're choosing ingredients, there's of course standard and premium ingredients for everything in a pizza. So we thought we'd break it down in a large batch. So, if you're using a 50-pound bag of flour, you could break that into 150 dough balls of 250 grams each.
So that's about 22.68 kilos, right?
Yep.
And then divided by 250 gives us about 150 dough balls, right?
Yeah.
So that's the basic math we're working with. And a 250-gram dough ball is about standard for a Neapolitan individual 12 or 13-inch pizza. That's what we're starting, right?
Right. And I thought we'd break it down from standard, or like the lowest price point for each ingredient, to the premium, kind of your most expensive price point for each ingredient, so that we can kind of understand where we fall and get some concept of what you were just talking about, Noel, with the inclusion percentage and all that.
Let's do it. All right.
Start with flour, right? If you get a standard, lower price bag of 50 pounds, you could get it maybe down to $19.50, right, Noel? If you buy the cheap ones.
So, well, yeah, I mean, we were talking about that. So, yeah, the very, very, very cheapest, not standard, but you could probably these days find a 12 or 13 dollar bag of flour. But, for standard, decent quality flour, you're up around $20.
Yeah. And then the ultra premium. What would be ultra premium? Because it's expensive.
I mean, here's the thing. There are a lot of boutique flours out there these days. So I'm working with a mill. We're working with a mill outside of Austin, and they're selling, beautiful whole grain flour, and it tastes amazing. So that's not what most people are using. I know some home bakers that can afford to use that stuff. You've got Central Milling Organic, the premium stuff. Depending on how you buy, it can be anywhere from maybe $50 to $80 a bag. I would call that premium. So I would say, super premium, believe it or not, with food costs these days is up around 100, up as high as I've seen it for $120 a bag. Standard is maybe 20. So as you can see, there is a absolute huge range with flour and with everything else, right?
Yeah. Same thing for sauce. So if you were going to put sauce on 150 pizzas, you could get a big range between what you're using.
Yeah.
And the same's true for cheese, right? You can go from something that buy on Webstaurant store, all the way up to ultra premium local Buffalo mozzarella. All
right, so we've got that's true, because you can buy number 10 cans, 96 ounces of sauce for $2.50, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, you could go as low as $15 for a case of sauce. I wouldn't want to eat it, but they definitely put it on pizza. It's cheap, right?
Yep.
So we didn't want to go too low, but I would say a decent sauce these days to sauce 150 individual pizzas is going to set you back. You're talking about maybe 2 cases. So up around $30, $35. And then like this Bianco Dinapoli, I don't know if any of you have seen it. I went to I went to a place here and bought it retail recently, and it was $13 for that can. That's how much I paid. So I think wholesale, it's up around $6.50 a can. But if you want the goods, you got to pay sometime. Most people would say, wait a minute, $13 for a number 10 can? That's crazy. But go see what a 28 ounce can runs you at a fancy store. That's going to be $6 right there, right? So you got to pay to play. And so if you want good sauce, you got to pay. Cheese is the most expensive thing of all, right? People are going to be like, what do you mean $141? That's nothing. That's nothing. We're going to be using grande mozzarella at the Pizza Expo, right? We're going to be using some shredded mozz, right? That's on the kind of the medium end of the spectrum. We're going to be using some nice burrata. We're going to be using a new stracciatella, right? I've got some friends at the Caputo booth, Orlando Foods. They're going to hook me up with some beautiful olive oil and some really nice buffalo mozzarella. So, buffalo mozzarella for 150 pizzas, the food cost on that could be $3.50 for a nice 4-ounce hunk of buffalo. People are like, you're crazy. If you put $3.50 of buffalo mozzarella on a pizza at a 25% food cost, help me out. We're talking about $14 just for cheese, right? Not even including sauce, not even including dough, not a pepperoni in sight, right? I know,
No.
That's expensive. All right, so break it down. Where else are we going with this?
Well, I think next you're going to talk about the microbes. And I think premium microbes hasn't existed before, right? Like this is something new that I think people probably aren't used to seeing. It's like the first flat screen TV. They were expensive when they first came out, and if we're a small company, we need the support. We can't bring the price down yet, but as we grow, we'll be able to bring the price down. Like the question that we got, it was a good example. Explain the process. All of that, when you move it to scale, like the current baker's yeast producers do, they grow that stuff. They've been optimizing it for 200 years, bringing down the cost. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to do it faster than 200 years. But, over time, it'll get cheaper. But those first adopters, the first people who get on board are really important because it allows us to do that. If that doesn't happen, then, we never get the price
So the
down.
people that buy the first 600 bags of yeast, those are our early adopters.
Yeah. That's why we're giving the 50% discount and trying our best to reward that, right? But there's parameters. Like you said, up to a certain point, it might not make sense for people. And we thought we would break it down and kind of explain, what you've been working with James here. You guys have been talking about it all week because we're going to the Pizza Expo and we want to, explain it to people.
Yeah. So let's, why don't we cue the baker's math, and we'll start at the bottom and work our way up to the top, all right?
All right, let's do it.
Good. So I've gotten a lot of emails this week. I've got a lot of DMs this week. We got a few comments on some YouTubes this week. And everybody's like, whoa, I'm using your dough calculator and it's getting out of control here. How does this work? And I'm like, all right, so let me try to break it down for you. And so I don't want to ruin the surprise, but for people who order the microbes, we're gonna try to do some classes for people to teach them, or I would say reteach them, how to coax as much flavor, as much texture, as much beautiful color out of their pizza dough and bread as possible. And until now, there's basically two ways to do it with commercial yeast, whether it's fresh, instant, or active dry. There's the Neapolitan way, which is to use just a microscopic amount of yeast, right? When I told my instructors from French Culinary Institute how much yeast was in the Neapolitan pizza I was making at Keste on Bleecker Street in New York, this was probably 2008, they said to me, that's impossible, right? We were putting like 8 grams of fresh yeast into a 55 pound bag of flour. And they're like, it wouldn't work. It's not going to work. There's not enough yeast. I'm like, yeah, we're fermenting it. in the wintertime in New York without refrigeration for up to 2 days. It worked great. The flavor and the texture are incredible, right? But it's really what Roberto was doing, what my friend Jonathan at Dinapoli does. Jonathan does maybe a 30-hour rise with just a tiny amount of yeast. They coax incredible flavor and texture and color and performance, crust, crumb, everything out of that dough. But it's hard to do. You have to have a lot of patience. You got to have a big staff. You got to have absolute control of your environment, and it helps to have 10, 20, or 30 years of experience. So the good thing about using a small amount of yeast is that things don't get out of control too fast. They move nice and slowly, right? And that's where you really want to start with our product, right? But what I was trying to say is that with fresh yeast, with active dry and instant dry, there's two ways to get flavor. One is the straight dough with a small amount of yeast, and the second way is to use a pre-ferment, like a biga, like a pouliche, like a pat fermenté, like they taught us in baking school. But that's hard. That's really hard to do. It doesn't take patience, but it takes a lot of technique. You lose out because sometimes, even in a professional environment, you walk into a bakery in the morning and it was hotter than you thought, and your pouliche is already crested and it's falling. You got to get that mix in, or you got to refeed your pouliche. That's an emergency situation. Same thing with a biga. You do your biga overnight, and it was too cold at night, and it's not ready yet, so you got to wait. Pat fermenté is one of the easiest ones, but you don't get too much flavor out of it. It's better than a quick dough any day. But I think a lot of people come, especially home bakers, they come to pizza making with this idea that you can just put a bunch of IDY or ADY or fresh yeast in your dough, stick it in the refrigerator for a week, and it's really good. If you get lucky, it is, but we don't really want to go that route, Too much yeast, too much cold air does not make a good pizza, right? I say reduce the amount of yeast, extend the amount of time, control your environment, right? Learn about friction factor, DDT, all that good stuff. That's where you want to be. So we're starting with a very low amount of yeast. So right now it says 0.01%. That's not 1%. That's not a 0.1%. That's 0.01% of yeast. That's a very, very, very low amount of yeast. As my instructors at French Culinary said, impossible. Let's dial it up a little bit for the naysayers who think that's not enough yeast to leaven bread. All right, so that's 0.025. That's not 2.5% yeast. That's not 0.25. That's not 2.5 tenths, or 2.5 hundredths. That's a tiny amount of yeast. I would say that most people would say, no way. Come on, let's dial it up. Come on. Let's get some yeast. So that is about 0.05%. And now we're at least at 0.05%, right? A lot of people still would say it's not enough yeast, but I got to say right now, I can make good Neapolitan with that. I can make good New York with that. And with patience, I can make pretty good Sicilian, pretty good Detroit, almost any pan pizza except maybe a Roman. I think a Roman needs a little more yeast. But definitely a good New York with that amount. You just need a little bit of patience. Yeah? What's next? 0.0. Oh, Jesus. We're inching up, aren't we? So that right there is probably the equivalent of about 7.5% of liquid levain. I think that's a really nice amount. If I was going to make a dough in the evening that I was going to serve at lunch, about 7.5% levain is what I would use for a room temperature rise. So we're getting there. So do me a favor, before we dial it up anymore, can you walk us through not just the percent inclusion of yeast column on the left, but the instant yeast and the instant sourdough? How do these columns relate to each other?
Yeah, instant yeast is just your instant dry yeast that has been around forever. You buy in the grocery store, wherever you buy your 50-pound pack off Webster on store, or wherever you get your yeast from. Instant sourdough is our all-purpose blend, so that's more expensive than our wild yeast, but I think it's a good example of kind of where our cost is right now. of course, like I said, our costs will go down over time, but we definitely fall more into the premium category, if you will. So I put it over on the right, like we did for the flour and the sauce
Got
and
it.
the cheese.
Got it. So let me make sure I understand the columns here. You're better at math than I am. I'm better at pizza making than you are. That's how we roll. So basically, if you use the lowest inclusion rate that like maybe a Neapolitan would use, and they even go lower than that, you're talking about 2 cents for an entire batch of 150 pizzas. That's how cheap it is.
It's crazy. It's crazy cheap. And keep in mind that this is just the food costs. We haven't factored in labor or anything like that, which
Yeah.
you were just talking about, the impact on labor that it can have.
Yeah.
Harder to quantify, but that's probably 75-80% of the cost, wouldn't you say, for a pizza place?
Well, so in general, if you look at all the costs, you're depending on the level of service, labor costs can be anywhere between 20 and about 40%. That's the range in the restaurant business, right? Food cost is usually up between, let's say, 20 and 25. If you're not doing so good, it could be 30. If you're killing it, it might be 18% these days. So, rent 6 to 8, although these days in Los Angeles, you'll be lucky to get 8% rent. But these are some of the ranges that we use, some of the percentages. All right, so let me get this straight. 2 cents for 150 pizzas, you can't beat that.
It's cheaper than salt or definitely water. At least in San Diego, I know for sure it's cheaper than water.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so as we go up in the inclusion rate, the price of the instant yeast goes up and the price of the instant sourdough goes up, right?
Yes, yeah.
So I think on the brochure, we were breaking it down, right? So it's, if you're talking about 6 cents for 150 pizzas, I don't know how many decibel places it's going to go, but it's so cheap, you can't even count, right?
Yeah.
So it looks like as we raise our inclusion rate, this is the food cost, the cost of goods on the far right column for 150 pizzas, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and you can see it gets more expensive up here.
It definitely gets more expensive. So I think the plan is to start with low inclusion rates and teach people how to make Neapolitan pizza, Neapolitan pizza, New York pizza. With a 0.2 IDY equivalent, I can make pretty much anything they make in New York, no problem. Anything they make in Detroit, no problem. Anything they make in Chicago, LA, Portland, Seattle, I think we can do it. Sorry if I left out your hometown, folks. Yeah, no, we can do it. That's a nice little range that we're in. I mean, you can go higher, right? Justin brought up the bread machine. I remember my stepfather had a bread machine in the 80s, and he must have been using I don't know how much yeast you'd have to use, because he was like, at 3 o'clock, he's like, hey kids, you want bread for dinner? I'll have it ready in 2 hours. No way. And then he'd have that weird bread in 2 hours. It was bread. It looked exactly like bread.
Yeah. 2% yeast, maybe somewhere in between there.
I would say about 2% yeast, 2% fresh yeast. Yeah.
But the point too, the reason we left this up here, people should use good ingredients, but the difference there is even larger, right? We're putting a multiple on something that's so cheap. It's far cheaper than the cheapest ingredient you can get. It's more expensive. I'm sensitive to that.
Yeah.
But relatively compared to cheese or sauce, it's not as much.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because we've been kicking around these numbers all week, and I've been calling up different clients and seeing a lot of the people that I've been talking to are people who helped us on our way up, and we sent them free microbes back in the day, and now that we have the prices, they're like, hold on, we got a little sticker shock here. I'm like, hold on, let's start at the beginning. All right, so if you're making Neapolitan pizza, Neapolitan, New York, let's walk you through it. It looks rough, but you save a lot of money on labor. And like I said earlier, most of the pizzerias I walk into are using anywhere from 5 times to 8 times too much yeast. That's the first thing I do is cut 80%, 90% of the yeast out of the recipe. right? Because a lot of people inherit these recipes from who knows where. They get it from their great-grandfather, from their auntie on the East Coast, right? They don't know the difference between a summer and a winter recipe, right? Maybe they're using a winter recipe, but come on. We're cooking pizza in Los Angeles now. We don't need a winter recipe on the East Coast, right?
No.
People go to the internet. They find stuff in books. I mean, I made the worst pizza ever when I was cooking out of books because I didn't understand how everything fit together. So I think a lot of people, as Chris Bianco would say, use pizza unknowingly sometimes as a metaphor. Chris Bianco says, pizza is a metaphor for the best of intentions, right? And so we want to help people make good pizza. We want to help well-intentioned home bakers and professionals to make good sourdough. But I think we're going to have to start kind of a re-education plan, so people understand the history of pizza, where it started, right? We're not going to start with bread machines in 1984. That's when we got ours. We're going to start at the beginning with Neapolitan pizza that was naturally leavened, or that used yeast from the beer making process or the wine making process, right? And they used time. They didn't even have refrigeration in Naples. Right? They didn't have refrigeration in New York.
Yeah. And we'll get it down. Over time, we'll get it down. This is the first flat screen.
Yeah.
Wait, if you're using 1% and you don't want to switch, just, hopefully we'll get it there for you.
Yeah. Yeah. Good. All right. So we have our timeline mapped out. That's good. Everybody knows where we're going to be and when. Mm-hmm. One of the things that we're going to do starting on April 7th is we're going to teach people how to make straight doughs. That's where you put the microbes right into the dough. We're going to teach people how to make pouliches and bigas, which is usually these are not made with sourdough microbes, although my friends in Italy do it. For instance, they do something called a biga naturale, which is very beautiful, as opposed to a biga that's made with commercial yeast. So you can do that with pouliche and with biga. And then we're going to teach people how to start their own sourdough starter using our microbes. And so that really helps drop the cost. As well, it helps a lot with consistency. Because as we learned over many, many, many weeks and months in Science of Sourdough, depending on what's in your sourdough, and most people don't even know, you get radically different results from the same recipes and the same basic techniques, right? Good. So I was just talking with John Darsky from Del Popolo in San Francisco. He's going to be at the Pizza Expo. He's going to come check us out. He uses a sourdough starter both for his frozen pizza company and his food truck and his pizzeria. So he's going to come check us out. That's going to be exciting. That's a little scary, actually. When I get back from the Pizza Expo, I'm gonna do a private class with John, show him how to make sourdough pizza with microbes. It's scary because before I was a professional, I saw that guy on the internet making really good pizza, and his brother-in-law Zach, and I was like, I'll never be like those guys. And now, we're all doing it. Very exciting. Justin, you back?
Told you not to use that word never. Never say never. That's what I say.
Never. That's
what do you think about this little pizza leprechaun guy? It's pretty good, right? Thank you, Suze.
Is that AI?
Hey, ChatGPT, baby.
I recognize those graphics.
Yeah, of course.
Wait, did Susan create that for you?
No, Susan just said, love the leprechaun look. That's very funny. Pizza leprechaun, right? Like the pot of gold is a pizza. Pretty good.
Did you make that on ChatGPT, Justin?
I did. I said, like,
you're talented.
I said, yo, me and my chat are chummy. Chum-chum-cheree. Well, guys, it looks like, you got your work cut out for you. You got to bring that cost down. People want to make some sourdough bread. What's going on here? It's going to be pretty exciting stuff.
It is going to be exciting. I'm excited.
Yeah, but you're saying, look, you want to buy the first flat screen TV. There's going to be a little bit of, a little hike on that. But the more that we participate, the more that we use, the more that we eat, the more that we, burn and learn, I think that it's all going to come down. Cameron keeps saying we got 200 years on some yeasties. They got a little head start. And, it can be a little frightening. It can be a little intimidating. But, I'm bummed that I'm not going to be there to taste or participate because I've yet to take that. But I think you guys nailed something that you're not really thinking about, or that you're not really capitalizing on, is that in the production line, the cost to get that flavor, is gonna come down because
Oh yeah.
the level of expertise that you need to have, I mean, in Scotty's dough, in Joey's dough, in a lot of these doughs that we've, it's an advanced level dough,
Oh yeah.
and depending on the people that you have that are willing to do the work with you, that's man hours. So I think, yeah, maybe there's a little sticker shock initially that's going to come down, but maybe it's going to, I'm assuming that next year when we're talking about this, it'll be a lot less, and we'll have a lot more, people have tasted it and they're going to say, holy moly, this is really delicious for what we're putting in and what we're getting out. So,
Yeah. And also, you have to think about quality. I just sent my family to Pizzeria Razza
yeah.
for a family birthday. And my sister and brother-in-law had never been there before. And they said, what should I order?
Yeah.
And I said,
Cheese pizza.
Justin, no, margarita, pizza margarita.
Okay. All right.
All right. And Dan does 2 margarita pizzas there, right? Both of them.
Dan is absolutely insane.
No, I know, but you're talking about
in a good way.
the most premium, the most high quality, the most like he
attention to detail. I mean,
no, Justin, no. Listen, have you ever been there? Stop it.
I've hung out with him.
He tests 50 different tomatoes every year.
His rubrics are insane.
Insane.
He's got rubrics out the rubric.
He does have that.
If I can say that.
You can say. You just did.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Well, Justin.
Noel, Cam.
Can't stop staring at you.
I know. I get that a lot. People, it's,
You're so handsome.
I get
in green.
I get that. So, Cam, what are you're asking some people to voice what you're saying down here. Extending shelf life.
Yeah. Someone asked, did you test for or find microbes good at extending the shelf life of the bread? Yes. Yeah, that's one of the big values for larger scale manufacturers of bread who need their bread to last a long time right now. The microbes do the chemistry, so you don't have to. You don't have to add the stuff to the dough. You can either reduce or completely remove it and still get the same shelf life. Obviously, that's nice if you're making bread at home or making bread in a restaurant, but you're not. I doubt many people are adding additives to their dough at a pizzeria. Noel, what do you say?
No, and also, you know what? There's so many different levels of additives, and so like for a home baker, like when I teach my beginning and even my intermediate pizza class, I throw in 2% sugar or 2% in olive oil, right? And you get a lot of flavor, you get nice texture, you get really good browning, extended shelf life, a lot of stuff. But when you use natural fermentation, you don't need any of that. So this week, I've been making bread every day, and I've been trying to force it to stale. Except for refrigerating it, I've done everything. I have left it out. I've got bread that's just sitting out. I have wrapped it in cellophane. I have frozen it. And I'm making all my friends and family, I'm like, this has been out for 5 days. And I toast it up in the oven, and they're like, doesn't taste like 5 days. Usually bread would go stale, especially if you leave it out or stick it in a bag, right? But this bread is not staling in 5 days.
Wow.
Yeah, really nice.
Can you unplug those earbuds and show us a little cross shot? I think everybody would love to see
I'll trade you, Justin.
What are you going to trade me?
I need to see your little green screen outfit that's causing this pandemonium in my
What do you mean?
heart.
Oh, my little here.
I'll be right back.
This is where I started, guys. This is,
Yes.
this is. Don't pay any attention to the man behind the curtain, or the Uncle Pizza or the Uncle Just, the kid. This is where all the magic happens, guys. And while we're doing this, I want to show old Noel. Look at that. Oh boy.
It's not even here.
Oh boy. There we go. There we go. But I'm really excited. So tomorrow you guys are going to do a big tasting. You're gonna have a private tasting with Rob, and then you're gonna be doing this big tasting at Tribute, right, Sandizi. So that's great. And then, okay, Noel, show us what you're working with. Okay.
Get him some light.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't have much light left in here. We're good. Don't be turning on those overhead lights. I hate it. Look natural.
Hey.
Oh.
Looks pretty nice.
See it?
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty nice.
Looks pretty nice.
So
And it smells. What does it smell like? And you said that's the wild, bud.
Yeah, this is the wild. It smells like exactly what it says on the package. The first thing is butter.
I did the reading. Yeah, I did.
Butter.
Yeah.
Nutty. Toasty. Not sour at all.
Yeah, as our buddy, our old friend Ezra's here, and he was asking that question that he wanted to see some stuff. He was excited about your Uni Halo too. He had reached out to me. Ezra and I were Noel's doughboys back in the day, back in the old Surface when pre-pandemo days when we were. So Ez,
hi Ezra,
good to see you, buddy. Well, this is exciting. I mean, this is what would you call this? This is the debutante, the debut dough.
This is the night before the debutante ball.
This is the debutante ball of the Leaven Foods.
I mean, in a way, I'm introducing Cameron to the pizza community at the Pizza Expo. He's the debutante.
Yeah, even though
I
was there a long time before Cameron, but I guess that's the way it goes.
Justin, you don't have Cameron's good looks and smarts. Oh, you have his good looks. You don't have his smarts.
That's true.
You're not the whole package.
Yeah, no. It's the nature of the bees. Nature of the bee's knees.
Although, Justin, talking about knees,
look at that.
Don't you have a video?
Oh yeah. Before let me see if I can share my screen real quick with everybody. I think that
speaking of bees,
those who have been here, this is a little vintage Uncle Just.
Oh, please.
Everyone has the luck of the Irish during the Heilig Miles 7 of the Green Sale. You'll find savings throughout the store, plus 17 items sale priced even lower than low. From desks and curios to recliners and entertainment centers and everything in between. All priced to save you lots of green. Huge price cuts all throughout Heilig Miles. This weekend only. How lucky can you get?
Yeah.
You're a star. I knew it.
I like the little dance at the end. Could you guys hear that?
Of course we heard. I heard all of it.
Good. Okay, good.
Was that your voice, or did they hire a little?
No, that was me. That was my little Irish. There he is. Look at the little guy. Look at him sitting up there.
You're cute.
Look at me sitting on the. This was 20 years ago. 30.
All right. So I gotta. I was wrong. You do have good looks.
Look at those cans.
You do have charm. No smarts. That's it.
Look at there. Look at the little dance. Here you go. This is my favorite. How lucky can you get?
All right, Justin. Some of us have places to go.
Okay.
You drinking at home tonight? Or you going to a bar?
No, I wish. We got a lot of. We're high stress in the Dre household these days. We're not going out. We're not going out. Can I borrow some money? All right. Say your goodbyes to all these 620. You guys have been
go.
You guys gotta go. Look at the pot of pizza gold. Ladies and germs and ladies.
Cameron, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Looking forward to hitting the road with you next week. Looking forward to our big tasting tomorrow.
I want a lot of
Tribute Pizza.
I want a lot of video. We need you guys need to document this thing so we can do it vertical, horizontal, your choice. Because I think it'd be fun. I think the people want to see this adventure, go on this adventure with you. And I'd like to get some stuff up on the old the tubers. No, we've gotten the last two pre's up on tubes, and we'll
Yes,
do this
everything's
one.
out.
We'll get
Everything's
this
out.
one out hopefully before you guys hit the road or get there
Yes, we'll get it
by the
out.
25th. So,
Yes.
but
All right,
Cam, you
Justin.
want to say some thanks to everybody?
Yeah, thanks for coming, everybody. Really appreciate the support the last week. Thank you, all the Science of Sourdough friends, and hopefully I'll see you at the Pizza Expo.
Code word.
Justin.
Don't forget it, everybody. Please don't forget it. Please. Koozies? Did we get the koozies?
No koozies. Sorry, Jay. We'll get it next time.
There we go.
Maybe we'll have Justin and koozies next time.
It gets expensive. That gets expensive. It's not like we got to do the cost benefit analysis of that one. No, tell these people you love them. Would you?
Big benefits.
Yeah.
Love ya. Big benefits.
Tell these people. This is exciting. All of our friends out here that have been with us for so long. And hopefully everybody's blowing you up. They can't wait to see you at the Pizza Expo. This is going to be the first Pizza Expo you've been to post-pandemic.
Not true. This is going to be the first Pizza Expo I'm working since the pandemic.
Did you go? When did you go?
I've been there the last 2 years.
Oh, you have? Okay.
Yeah. I'm just
shows
walking
what
the
I
floor
know.
with my clients.
Gotcha.
Not working in actual booths.
Gotcha. Everybody loves the dough. Great crumb structure. I'm expecting a lot of good things coming from the expo. Tell all my friends, all of our virtual pizza friends, all the arenas and the I can't think the Biancos, the Dinapolis.
Yeah. Jeff Yankelo's going to be there from King Arthur.
Yanks will be there. Please.
Even Chris Bianco. He has his own
I told
booth.
you.
Whoever heard of that?
You burn, you learn, man.
Tuesday only.
Patron saint of pie. We got some any friends from LA going? Is Joey going to be there? Is Justin going to be there? None of those guys.
Justin from Apollonia will definitely be there.
Yeah. Tell Just I said what up. Name bros for life.
There you go.
So, very exciting stuff. All right,
Justin, take us out, please.
Yep. Ladies and gentlemen, we love you so. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. Remember, it is a little scary going into into the unknown, but, sometimes you got to fly. You got to go up and you got to fly, and we're going to make this accessible. We're going to make it digestible, and we're going to try to not be afraid of changing things, because I think that change, while scary, the benefits could be immeasurable. I mean, last week Cameron was saying we're going to have banana pizza. I mean, what if you had a banana flavored dough and then you put Nutella on it and you put all these things, dessert pizza. I was pitching that way back in the day. You guys know the deal. If you are going to the Pizza Expo, have a wonderful time. Remember to tag Noel, tag Leaven Foods, all that good stuff. And we love you. We do not at Slow Rise Pizza get into the politics of pepperoni and pineapple. Oh no, my friends, we say pizza always and always pizza. Pieces and slices with love.
Thank you, Justin.